Hello, welcome back. For years, Frances Swaggart stood quietly beside her husband, showing strength on the outside while carrying deep wounds on the inside. Through all the public highs and private heartbreaks, she remained composed, even when everything inside her felt like it was breaking. But now, with time and reflection, she finds the strength to share her truth, not to assign blame or stir sympathy, but to finally give voice to the pain she's kept hidden. She speaks calmly, yet each word carries the weight of years gone by. The year 1988 wasn't just a crisis for their ministry, it was the moment her world was turned upside down. As a woman, a wife, and a believer, she remembers waking up and realizing that nothing would ever be the same. Whispers turned into headlines, strangers judged, and friends quietly walked away. Their ministry, their reputation, and her home life were all under fire. And at the center of it stood the man she had loved and trusted. She recalls the surreal feeling of watching her life unravel, knowing she had no control over any of it. The silence in their home grew louder than words. While the world saw a scandal, she lived through a personal heartbreak few could understand. The most painful part wasn't the media storm, it was the betrayal she felt as a wife. She didn't hear the truth from Jimmy first. The rumors found her before the facts did. When she finally faced the reality of what had happened, it felt like her entire world collapsed. The betrayal cut deeper than she could have ever imagined. For years, she had stood beside Jimmy in ministry, in marriage, in faith. And now she felt like a stranger in her own life. Everything, prayers, sermons, travel, suddenly felt distant. She didn't explode or scream. Instead, she went quiet. That silence spoke of everything she didn't know how to say. The trust broken, the identity shaken, the sense of safety gone. She questioned everything: her husband, her marriage, her purpose, even her faith. There were nights she sat at the edge of the bed with a suitcase open, wondering if it was time to walk away. Not out of anger, but exhaustion. She had even made a quiet call to ask where she could stay if she left. She didn't want a dramatic exit, she just wanted to breathe. But something told her to wait. So she stayed just for one more night. That one night turned into many more. But deep down she knew how close she had come to walking away for good. When Jimmy stood in front of cameras and delivered a tearful public apology, the world watched. Some forgave, some turned away, but no one saw the woman behind the scenes. Frances sat alone, listening to his voice on the television, trying to hold herself together. While the apology was public, the pain it referenced was personal. She had cried herself to sleep the night before, and after that broadcast, she still had to smile in front of others, go to church, and act like everything was okay. But she was far from okay. The betrayal had left her broken, barely able to pray, barely able to eat or sleep. Every glance at Jimmy reminded her of the pain. The world moved on, but she was left behind with pieces too fragile to piece back together quickly. People assumed that one moment of televised remorse fixed everything, but for Frances, that moment was only the start of the long, lonely path to healing. Through it all, the only constant was her faith. Not in people, not even in her husband, but in God. She clung to the scriptures she had known since childhood, not to preach, but to survive. Verses became lifelines. Sometimes her prayers were just single words like help, and in return, God gave her just enough strength to keep going. Healing wasn't fast, and peace didn't come easily. But her faith gave her the courage to stay and face the pain instead of running from it. Eventually, the silence between her and Jimmy gave way to a confrontation. She couldn't hold it in anymore. One night, she looked at him and spoke from a place of raw truth. She told him how much he had hurt her, how lost she felt, and how unsure she was about staying. She asked him, "Do you even know what you've done to me?" There were no defenses that night, just honesty, and for the first time, Jimmy listened, really listened. That moment didn't fix everything, but it opened a door that had been shut for too long. From there, they had to rebuild from the inside out. There were no quick fixes, just slow, painful steps forward. The world didn't see it. They didn't make announcements or speeches, but they began talking again honestly. They prayed, cried, and sometimes sat in silence together. Trust had to be earned all over again. It wasn't smooth. There were setbacks and doubts. But every day they chose to keep going, and Frances, though deeply wounded, found the strength to keep trying. The ministry went on, but behind closed doors, they were learning to be husband and wife again. The healing didn't come from cameras or crowds. It came from quiet moments of truth, grace, and love. Many have asked Frances why she stayed. Some ask with kindness, others with judgment, and each time, she pauses. Because the answer isn't simple. She didn't stay because it was easy. She stayed because she believed in second chances, because she saw a side of Jimmy the world didn't, because she believed in the power of redemption. Most of all, because she knew God wasn't finished with their story. Walking away might have been easier, but she felt called to stay. Not because she was weak, but because she was strong enough to forgive, strong enough to hope, and strong enough to believe that even broken things can be made whole again. Her choice wasn't public or dramatic, it was personal. And it came from a place of deep faith and quiet courage. Now, looking back, she doesn't just see pain, she sees how God carried her through it. And she shares her story for the women who feel forgotten in their own pain, the ones who've been betrayed, silenced, or left behind. Frances wants them to know they're not alone. Healing is possible, forgiveness is not weakness. And whether you're called to stay or walk away, your worth is not defined by someone else's failure. God sees you, holds you, and walks with you, and sometimes the bravest thing a woman can do is simply keep going one step, one breath, one prayer at a time.